Good morning, team. Diamond Hands Derrick here as I'm going to proclaim myself moving forward so that I can mentally have the right state of mind to deal with what is taking place right now and what's bound to take place in the coming days. I warned of these things, and we're going to look at the charts really quick on Bitcoin. We're going to also look at some of the news. What's causing this problem? What happened? We were going to the moon. We made a new all-time high. We have all this good news. Wall Street's on the way. Where did we get off the track? Well, this is actually all part of the plan, team. And I made a video. This is back when I first, let's see, I'll move this up so you can see the title. When I first started really understanding what Bitcoin was, I didn't really understand what it was until this is March 8th. So not that long ago, 5-6 weeks ago, when I became a Bitcoin bull. But I made this video called Bitcoin Will Fail, so why am I buying it? And ultimately, the reason why I was buying is because I saw that Wall Street was coming to the party. Wall Street was getting on board. They were flip-flopping from attacking and hating Bitcoin at all costs to turning around and going, you know what, we're going to offer this. And you could see that taking place. And so I became bullish at that point, knowing that when Wall Street gets involved in something, typically what they do is they run it to the moon and then they kill it. Just like they did with the mortgage crash. Remember the real estate crash 13 years ago now, 12, 13 years ago now? That was all because of Wall Street. They went crazy with the bond paper. They sold it to everybody, and then it crashed. Okay? And that's just what Wall Street does. Wall Street eats something up, squeezes every last drop of profit out of it, and then they move on. And I believe that that's the same thing they're going to try to do with Bitcoin. And that's the reason why I said Bitcoin will fail ultimately, one way or the other. And one of the reasons that I gave was because of how timid it is when the government says something. So here is what was going on. And I meant to make this video yesterday. This is what was in the news. So the OFAC escalates Russian sanctions listing Bitcoin addresses. So just because they mentioned Bitcoin addresses. So these Russian sanctions just mentioned some Bitcoin addresses. And that started the cascade of rumors. Now, in this video that I made here about why Bitcoin will fail, so why am I buying it? I don't believe any longer that Bitcoin will fail. I do believe, however, that we are in for a rocky road because Wall Street is not going to let you just get rich like that. They're going to try to blow you out. They're going to want to enter and have their clients purchase at much lower prices than where we're at today. And we're going to look at this today. We're going to kind of dive into this. But what I had mentioned in that video was that Janet Yellen just said that she thought Bitcoin was unstable one time, and that caused like a 10% decrease in one day. So my point was the government doesn't even need to make a law. All they have to do is just say something. Let's see, where was it? All they have to do is just say something or just do anything that looks negative, and the rumors will start. So U.S. Treasury crypto crackdown rumors spread. That was the big thing. And this crackdown is going to be, this is coming. I mean, Michael Saylor's been talking about this. Everyone should expect this. This is actually part of the process for Wall Street to get on board. Remember, Wall Street is highly regulated by the SEC. There's already been rulings that were very much in the favor of Bitcoin, making sure that it's not a security, that it is a physical form of property, all the things that are perfect for us. And now there's all these ETFs. We want these ETFs to get approved, don't we? If you're a Bitcoin bull, if you own Bitcoin, you should want those ETFs to get approved. In order for those ETFs to get approved, what does that even mean? That means that the SEC must know how the cryptocurrencies are going to be regulated before they can approve the ETFs. So if they're talking about what they're going to do, I like how this is called crypto crackdown. What's the Biden administration should be talking about Bitcoin. They should be. Because if we're going to get SEC approval, there's going to have to be some collaboration there. They're going to have to talk about how do we handle this. We can't just go approve these ETFs and let them continue to run like crazy. We now have our opportunity to decide how we want to regulate it. I fully expect that buying Bitcoin and owning cryptocurrency is going to be just like owning stocks. They're going to want to know names. They're going to want to know who's got what. Fully expecting that to happen. So, and by the way, this is good news. This is basically taking us right down the path of approval for these ETFs, for these different securities that are going to have cryptocurrency in them, which will cause more buying and cause prices to go higher. Okay, so that's happening, and this was propagated upon the news. You can see it here, even on Fox News. Biden admin in early stages of developing a regulatory approach to crypto markets. Sources. Again, good news. Good news. There has to be a regulatory approach. In order for Wall Street to get involved, in order for our sales organ to grow from just the few of us who get it to the masses, we need a sales organ. Our sales organ is going to be Wall Street. In order for Wall Street to get involved, there has to be regulatory understanding. In order for the SEC to approve anything, it just has to be that way. That is what is happening. Now, because of, the fact that people run with these rumors and there's a lot of people who want to buy at lower prices, what happens is, and this is from someone on CoinDesk, what happens if all stablecoin users have to be identified? This is what they're talking about. So you're starting to see more of this FUD, if you will. As you see this now, basically what they're saying is, if the U.S. reins in pseudonymity in stablecoin transactions, it seems possible, there could be big implications for the crypto industry. And I definitely understand where that's coming from, because they're saying, hey, basically, if you're using a like non-custodial wallet, let's say, for example, I can transfer from my non-custodial to your non-custodial, and we can go back and forth, and we can do all that without anyone knowing what's going on. I still think that's going to be the way that it works. However, here is where the greatest concern, and the reason why I said if the government wants to, in this video, I told you back on March 8th, if the government wants to, they can crush Bitcoin. All they would have to do, think about this, all they would have to do is tell the banks, whom they control easily, all they have to do is tell them that, hey, do not accept any transfers from cryptocurrency exchanges. Then you and I could sit here and we could have $10 million in Bitcoin. We have no way to convert it to dollars. That's all they'd have to do. So at any point in time, they could do that. They could have done it already. They're not doing that. That's not what's happening. What's happening is there's ETFs that are in the process of being approved. Regulation and government has to come in and decide how they want to handle that. That's what's happening. And everyone's freaking out. So let's take a look at the charts. I'm just going to show you a couple things here. I'm not a technician necessarily, but I do always watch one thing, the one thing that I'm the most interested in, whether it's a stock or, in this case, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. I know Bitcoin very well. I watch it trade. I understand how it moves. We can look back at some of these things, and I'll show you some of these things. I totally expected, every time I looked at my phone to check the price yesterday, which I tried to do very little, I don't try not to do it all day, but every time I did, it was kind of like, it's like, oh shit, how bad is it going to be? And this morning when I woke up, I totally expected to be in the low 50,000s. Really, really, really scared that it might begin with a 4, right? Now, I call myself Diamond Hands Derrick for a reason. I'm not selling. To me, these Bitcoins are worth $1 million each. I wouldn't sell them for any less than that. And you shouldn't either. But take a look here at a couple of things that we got going on. So this is the all-time high that we made not that long ago. Just a few days back, a week ago. 1 week ago, we made an all-time high, almost 65,000. That's this right here. We have this downtrend now that's been established, which is kind of off the charts now. I mean, it's up near 60,000 at this stage, but we're gonna come in contact with that at some point here, most likely. And so we're gonna see how Bitcoin interacts when that happens. The good news right now is that right down here, we have a really, I thought I made that line thicker. Come on now. We have some support. And what's really nice to see about this support, I'll tell you two things. First of all, that it's held under this extreme duress and this crazy candle and all this madness that's going on. Clearly a blowout of, liquidation of the longs, if you will. You can call it a lot of different things. But basically, it is crazy. I mean, this is a stabilization area that's happening right now. So Bitcoin is sort of figuring itself out right in here. Okay, that's what's going on. and that's between 57 and 53. Now down here, when we did come back and touch this little support line, it just barely touched the close numbers on these two candles right here, and then went higher. So we got nothing but wicks down here. So that's a good sign. You know, that's a good sign. We're going to see what happens in this little area right here, but my guess is that we're going to break out and go higher. Of course, more FUD is on the way. One of the things that I mentioned back in this video, which by the way, you should check it out because I was totally spot on. If you watch me talk about this and why I was excited about Bitcoin at that time, but knowing what was coming, you'll probably get some solace out of that. Because one of the things I said was they're going to start saying things like this. They'll come out and say some negative things that sound terrible, things that are like, oh gosh, it might be all over. And it could be as simple as Janet Yellen or even Joe Biden coming out and saying, we have to take a hard look at this Bitcoin. Seems to be very dangerous. We have to decide whether or not this is something we can allow. And then, we'll get back to you. That's literally all I have to say. No laws have to be passed. No, nothing major needs to happen. All I have to do is come out and say something like that. And his Wall Street buddies, I promise you, they're begging for this right now. They're probably going to get it. You're going to hear some really, really, really negative news. So far, impressively, and then you're going to see some people who, on the heels of that, while everyone, and nothing against JP, I think he made some good points here, but you're going to see people like reliable places, crypto sites like CoinDesk, some of their staff writers like JP Koenig are going to write things like this. And these types of things are going to start recirculating. You're going to see more and more of this kind of talk, this kind of speak. You're going to see more and more of these stories on the news. And this is all part of the plan. All part of the plan to try to get the price lower. Well, guess what? So far, it's not working very well. It's not working very well at all. I mean, yeah, sure. They blew these guys out. They liquidated those longs. They basically said, hey, guys, you guys are on leverage. You're not getting rich. Because Wall Street knows what's going to happen. There's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars that comes in buying Bitcoin. And what's great about these ETFs, and the reason, in case you don't know why the ETFs are so good for Bitcoin, is because when people buy into the ETF, what happens is there's money flow. So you have an ETF, there's money flowing into that ETF that has to be immediately put to work. They have to buy Bitcoin. So what it is, it's an automatic Bitcoin buying machine. It's automatically buying Bitcoin every time money comes in. So you have this built-in huge buyers of Bitcoin, and they're going to be coming from all directions. I mean, that is great. It's the same reason why the stock market has a tendency to go higher, and why you can make, if you just do some very simple dollar cost averaging in the stock market, you can make tons of money over time because there's tons of money coming in. All these 401ks, all these pension plans, all those things, money just comes in to these funds and they just fire it at the market. We are going to have the same thing with Bitcoin, and everybody knows it. So the only question is, do you have weak paper bag hands, or do you have Derrick diamond hands? That's the question. And I suggest you keep those diamond hands. We're actually seeing some really good moves right now. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more here on this 1 hour, and then we're going to look, and I'm going to show you some of the most convincing stuff. If you're still not convinced that everything's going to be okay, what I will show you next will convince you everything's going to be just fine. Looks like what's happening right here, and we're going to take a real quick look at this. Bitcoin likes to go higher on this really simple pattern of reverse head and shoulders. See it all the time. It loves this pattern. Look what's setting up. Not only is this a reverse head and shoulders that's setting up, and we don't know if this is what's going to happen, right? But I know there's a lot of guys on YouTube who do technical analysis and stuff that are great at it, but they're always telling you, well, it could be this way, it could be that way. So you really don't end up getting any information out of it ultimately. You end up, just kind of going, oh, well, we're still not sure. Yeah, it was cool to look at those charts. We don't know. I'm more of a prediction guy. I put bets in. For me, Bitcoin is not something I'm going to sell. I'm only looking for reasons to buy, and I may have to get off of here and go hit the buy button, because this is a reverse head and shoulders here on the 1 hour. This should send us higher here today. And it looks like it's setting up really nicely. Nice wicks there, and also have the higher low on this right shoulder so far. I mean, this could still obviously break down, but that right there for me is a buy signal. I'm going to go pull the trigger. So I'm going to go buy that little guy right there. And then here's what I want to show you though. So obviously we have this trend line to deal with. We have the moving averages are all, upwind right now. That's one of the problems that we've got from a resistance standpoint. But they've tried to knock this down. Expect more of this. I actually think this action right here, where we saw the really crazy wick and the low, the current swing low, I think that was a test. And I think that Wall Street, and we can call them big money, the bullies, they are testing to see how they can manipulate this. What does it cost to move Bitcoin $5,000 lower? What does it cost to move Bitcoin $10,000 lower? How long will it last before we have to put another chunk of money in it to move it lower? And so unfortunately right now, this is sort of a bearish looking chart. Overall, this is sort of like a bearish flag, right? Here's the flag, here's the pole. And so if you would look at this with bearish eyes, you could see that, and you could come up with a bunch of different ways to say, hey, look, this is still downtrend. You have lower highs here, you're hitting ceilings here. And that's all true. It's all true. We had a chance to kind of stay above the moving averages there. Didn't do it, broke down. There's definitely a battle going on here. There's no doubt about that. And it's going to come to a head. It's going to come to a head at some point in the near future. I'm obviously betting that this will go higher. And I think you could never buy Bitcoin at a bad time. Not when it's in the 50-something thousand. This thing is going much, much higher. So let's take a look at the daily here, and then I'll be done with you. All right. Can we please take a note? I want you to look at something here. Now, the reason this is important, and let me zoom out even further. The reason this is important is because Bitcoin is very unique. It's a unique security. It really is. And it's not a security, technically. It's a property, according to the SEC. But I want you to look at something here. Look at the action we've got right here. Okay? See that? Now, look over here. After we made a new all-time high over here, at the time, that was an all-time high. Look at this action. How many days did it take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days for us to put the bottom in. So here's our high over here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we put the bottom in today, we're right on stage. If we put the bottom in tomorrow, right on track. And look, boom, new high. And then look again here, breaks down, kind of tries to go, and then look at this. Look at that action. Doesn't it look very similar? Don't these moves right here, again, you see that? It looks really bad. But what happens ultimately? Yeah, it leaks over and then whoo. So just remember what's happened before. Okay, we have these moments. It looks like this. It looks really bad. I mean, when you're right in the midst of this candle right here, that is definitely scary, right? When you're seeing this action, it's like, man, this is rough. But notice the wicks on the bottom here. Those wicks sticking out on the bottom are really, really good sign on these daily candles. And look what we got here. So I think that it is amazing that we have held the line here so well so far. We're not out of the woods, team. Totally need to expect that there will be more bad news. There are going to be more attacks on Bitcoin. Listen, Wall Street doesn't just say, hey, we're coming to the party. We'll be there in June. And just let you make all the money. Okay, there's so much good news for Bitcoin right now because it's all true. And they want lower prices because they know they're not going to be able to get in for a month or two. And they don't want this thing to get out of hand. They don't want to have to pile in at 100,000. They want to be able to make their clients money. And they want to be able to get in a decent price. So expect more. Part of the plan. Everything's okay. Have not a fear. Have not a fear. Oops. What's up, Manthus G? Thumbs up to you too. You guys can say hi anytime. Cantillon effect. I don't know what the Cantillon effect is, but I like your profile pick. And I think Crypto Giant is a great name. I'm going with Diamond Hands Derrick. I'm going to change all my profiles. It's going to take diamond hands to get through this, team. I'm just telling you. What's great about the Bitcoin community is that we understand hodl, hodling, which means don't cave in. The biggest attack and the greatest attempt to get you to cave is on its way. What we saw there, the long blowout from Sunday or Saturday night, that is just one, throwing star and a military arsenal that is available to Wall Street and the government to really knock this thing down. Really, really knock this thing down. So here's my suggestion. If you're doing your regular purchases, if you're buying Bitcoin every week through Coinbase or a regular purchase or just doing it on your own every week, hey, buy $500 or whatever, great, keep doing that. If you're, looking to maybe deploy some cash into Bitcoin, maybe just leak it in there. Like let's say you have 30, 40,000 or something you want to put in there, just leak it in there 1,000 at a time. Just buy 1,000 at a time and kind of hang back with a little bit of cash. Because if this thing does get knocked down to the 40s, you're going to want to participate in that. You're going to want to get into that if we see the 40s again. We weren't sure we would ever see the 40s again. And even after this attack, we still haven't got to the 40s. We're still not getting to the 40s. I mean, this is a full-on attack. Hasn't got us there. And although the chart does look bearish to an extent, right now, the way it's setting up in the hourly, I think we'll see higher prices today. I think we'll have a good day. But more attacks are on the way. If those come today, things can change quickly. So diamond hands, get them out. Diamond hands. Do not sell your Bitcoin to these bastards. Whatever you do, do not sell it. Just know on the other side is a suit with a wry smile on his face buying your Bitcoin for his wealthy clients. Because they know what's going to happen. By the time summer gets here and by the time Wall Street is pumping money into this thing, it's going to be parabolic. It's going to be absolutely nuts. You're going to want to be around for that. Do not sell your Bitcoin. All right. Have a great day, guys. I'll talk to y'all soon.